The Elimination Chamber 2015 is going to be headlined by the WWE World Heavyweight Championship match, Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. And honestly, in my mind, this build to this match honestly killed my love for the Elimination Chamber match that was coming up on Sunday. Honestly, when Raw ended, I felt like I sat through a 3-hour show that wasn't that good, but the ending, normally I would feel like I made it, but the ending made me feel like I just had wasted so much time in this show that's going to be coming up on Sunday. Isn't really a pay-per-view, isn't really a special. It's just a show that they put on to try and get you to watch more wrestling. I just really felt bummed out about that whole deal with Rollins shoving the cameraman into Ambrose punching the cameraman, the Authority muscling the cameraman to filing charges against Ambrose for him to get arrested, only to find that I think they said a fan or somebody had uploaded a video to YouTube showing Rollins pushing the cameraman and provoking Ambrose to punch the guy. And somehow Ambrose got released from jail and they let him take the paddy wagon. He drove it into the arena to run down and attack the Authority and look strong. And it just, I don't know. People fell for this last year with the build of Ambrose, thinking that he was going to be the next Stone Cold Steve Austin with this series of matches against Rollins, and then him going into the whole series of matches against Bray Wyatt. Killed all the momentum that was going down. Dean Ambrose got the main event, the TLC pay-per-view, and I doubt anybody out there even remembers that pay-per-view going down. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins also was the main event of the Hell in the Cell show, which was a damn awesome, really, really good match. But when I think about it, I remember them falling off the side of the cell, and then the ending just being like, what the fuck is going on? With Bray Wyatt just popping up in the middle of the ring to go down with it. These guys having a history that really go down with it. Of course, if you've watched the Shield documentary on Blu-ray, you've seen a lot of these guys have matches from NXT really stealing the show. Them being, former friends, as we saw at the Fatal 4-Way, the Shield reuniting, even if it was only for a minute. We got to see the Shield triple powerbomb Randy Orton, like it was the old days, only to have Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose beat the piss out of Seth Rollins after that, which was a very, very fun moment. But, when people are sort of united in wrestling, as when a tag team or a faction breaks up, when those guys get together, it's fireworks, because these guys travel on the road. They know everything about each other. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. They know how to have a damn good match. And I think when it came down to it, I didn't think that Ambrose was really the strongest pick to be the main event of this show going up against Rollins. It reminded me, honestly, the first thing I thought about was the DX pay-per-view that went down in your house style way back in the day. Ken Shamrock going up against Shawn Michaels, which obviously the first thing that popped into my mind was, Bret Hart saying that he would have dropped the championship instead of doing the whole screw job finish if they were to let him drop it to somebody like Ken Shamrock. And WWE didn't want to do that, but all of a sudden, now that Bret's gone, they need a main eventer. Here's Ken Shamrock versus Shawn Michaels in the main event of your pay-per-view, when if only you were to listen to Bret, you never would have had to have the whole screw job thing. If you just would have let Bret drop the title to Ken Shamrock, who was, being billed as one of the most, feared men on earth because of his UFC history, you could have just easily popped him into a match against Shawn Michaels. And hey, Shawn beats Ken Shamrock, gets the championship back. Everybody's happy, and you don't have some big scandal that people are still talking about all these years later. But it just seemed like, we have a show out of the middle of nowhere. Let's just put Ambrose in there, even though he was the weakest guy, a part of the Fatal 4-Way, and didn't really have any reason to make him the number one contender. It's almost like the Authority picked Ambrose to be the number one contender because he was the weakest guy, and they wanted to have Rollins to have the weakest, easiest match to be going along with it. I'm not trying to weaken this match at all. I just think it might be one of the weakest, pay-per-view main events that we've had in the last little while. But then again, with only 2 weeks build, how much can you really get behind this? You think back to their matches that they had at SummerSlam, when they didn't even sort of confined the number lumberjack style of match. Lumberjacks are normally tried to keeping all of the superstars inside of the ring. These guys were fighting in the crowd. They were fighting in the aisles. I think they hit each other with cotton candy during this match and all sorts of other things. Then they go to the Hell in the Cell match in October, where they fought all over, with Ambrose trying to keep Rollins, confined inside of the cage, and it seemed like the whole match almost took place outside of the cage before finally getting him inside of there. But it's going to be a fun one. This is the Elimination Chamber 2015. I'm looking forward to it. I think I've gotten over Monday night, but let me guys know what you guys thoughts about this upcoming match. I obviously have Rollins in here. I'm not giving up on Rollins versus Brock. I think that there is rumors coming out that Brock is going to be part of the Battleground pay-per-view, which does bring a lot of life to that pay-per-view. For the last few years, Battleground has sort of been like the joke, much like Payback, to the WWE pay-per-view schedule, with Brock joining. Maybe we'll be getting this Rollins versus Brock match sooner than we thought. Definitely, if you're going to be saving Brock for SummerSlam, Brock versus Roman versus Seth would be a damn good match to have it. The real three-way from WrestleMania 31, getting down to it. Not trying to shortchange Ambrose from it, but honestly, in my mind, when I think of Ambrose, I don't really want Ambrose to be having the United States Championship or the Intercontinental Championship. I just see him as being a guy that has a real strong career. I don't really see him as a WWE champion either, but definitely a guy that's on that upper mid-card, but bottom of the main event scene. And we'll see what happens from here.